So, sexual transmitted diseases is an infectious disease that is spread from person to person through sexual contact. So, they are transmitted through the sexual contact, and they can also be transmitted to an infant from the mother, that can be transmitted before the birth of the child or during the birth of the child. And some sexually transmitted diseases may cause problem with the ability to get pregnant, causing infertility. So there are some diseases which may lead to infertility both in case of male as well as female. So we have to treat the sexual transmitted disease first, and then we can come back to the normal fertility in some cases. So, sexual transmitted diseases may be caused by different bacteria, viruses, funguses, as well as parasitic infections. So, common sexually transmitted diseases which we see in our clinical practices are gonorrhea, syphilis, chancroid, trichomonas vaginitis, genital herpes infection, human immunodeficiency viruses, hepatitis B infection, candidal infection, which is known as candidiasis, chlamydia trachomatis infection, as well as granuloma inguinal. These are the various types of diseases which are transmitted through sexual contacts. So let's talk about each of them in brief. Now coming to gonorrhea. So this gonorrhea, it is usually caused by a bacterium known as Neisseria gonorrhoeae, and they can infect various organs. Like infection may involve genital region. They may also infect the mouth or the rectum. And infections can also be passed from mother to child child during the birth process of the child. Okay, so it can involve various organs of the body. And symptoms of gonorrhea, so patient having gonorrhea may present with various symptoms. Like if female patient is having gonorrhea, patient may complain of burning micturition. There may be increased vaginal discharges, whitish and foul smelling discharge will be there. And patient may have pain in the pelvic region, like patient may have lower abdominal pain, especially in case of female. And there may be bleeding between the periods, like we have 28 days cycle. So first 5 to 7 days usually during menstruation the female might bleed, but in between the 28 days cycle, also in between, patient may have history of bleeding due to gonorrhea. And in case of male, so male patients having gonorrhea may complain of burning micturition also, and there may be penile discharge. They will complain of whitish discharge, or sometimes there may be yellowish or greenish colored discharge in the male patient. There may be history of testicular pain leading to orchitis, or there may be history of epididymitis, and there may be swelling of the testes as well due to infection of gonorrhea. And it may lead to various complications, like patient may have pelvic inflammatory diseases in female. In male, they may develop epididymitis, and it can also lead to infertility both in case of male as well as females. So how can we diagnose gonorrhea? So you will be studying in detail about the diagnosis in microbiology class. Here I'm just mentioning the name of the investigation. So for diagnosis, gram staining is done by sample taken from urine or sample taken from urethra in case of males, and we can also take a sample from the cervix in case of female. And these samples are cultured in modified clear margin medium. So they are cultured, and we can see the culture report, and we can treat the patient accordingly. Now, coming to the drugs which are used for treatment of gonorrhea. So, there are two types of treatment. One is for non-penicillinase producing gonorrhea, and another is for penicillinase producing gonorrhea. So, gonorrhea may produce penicillinase. So, for non-penicillinase producing gonorrhea, we give tablet amoxicillin, a little higher dose than usual dose of amoxicillin has to be given for treatment of gonorrhea. So you can give tablet amoxicillin in the dose of 3 gram per orally, or in place of amoxicillin you can also use ampicillin tablet 3.5 gram orally, and these drugs has to be combined with probenecid. Tablet probenecid, it is given in a dose of 1 gram, and it is given single dose in case of treatment of gonorrhea. So amoxicillin and probenecid combination, or ampicillin or probenecid combination, has to be given as a single dose. And for penicillinase producing gonorrhea, we give injection ceftriaxone 1 gram intramuscularly single dose, or we can use injection cefuroxime 1.5 gram intramuscularly, or we can use tablet azithromycin 1 gram single dose, and along with azithromycin we give tablet probenecid 1 gram single dose. Okay, so alternative regimens are, uh, we can give tablet cefixime 400 milligram for orally once, or we can give tablet doxycycline 100 milligram twice a day for 7 days, or we can give tablet erythromycin 500 milligram 4 times a day for 5 days. So these are the alternative regimen, but usually we use amoxicillin plus probenecid combination, or we give erythromycin plus probenecid combination, because they can be given orally, and it is easily accessible to the patient as well. So coming to syphilis. So syphilis, it is also a sexually transmitted disease which is caused by bacterium, that is Treponema pallidum. So it is caused by Treponema pallidum, and the infection is passed from person to person either by direct contact with the syphilitic sore, which occurs in the external genitalia, or it may occur in the vagina, anal region, or also it can be occurred in the rectum, and sometimes on the lips and mouth as well. So usually it is transmitted from direct person to person transmission, and can also be transmitted from mother to the baby during pregnancy, as well as during the childbirth. And if the child is transmitted with syphilis, it is known as congenital syphilis, and this syphilis can be diagnosed by doing VDRL test, very real diagnostic research laboratory test. And coming to treatment part, so syphilis, there are two types, either it is early syphilis or late syphilis. So early syphilis, it is also known as primary, secondary, and latent, that is within 1 year of developing syphilis. And for late syphilis, that means more than 1 year. So the best treatment for syphilis is the penicillin group of drug. So either we can use benzathine penicillin injection, or we can use procaine penicillin. So penicillin is the drug of choice. So injection benzathine penicillin, it is given 2.4 million unit intramuscularly 1 to 3 weekly, or injection procaine penicillin G 1.2 million unit intramuscularly daily for 10 days. So if you use benzathine penicillin, it can be given every weekly, or it can also be given 3 weekly. And but if you use procaine penicillin, it has to be given every day continuously for 10 days. And for late syphilis, we can use injection benzathine penicillin same dose intramuscularly once a week for total duration of 4 weeks. But if you use injection procaine penicillin, we can give 1.2 million unit intramuscularly daily, and it has to be given for longer duration of time, that is for 20 days in case of late syphilis. So the best treatment for syphilis is the penicillin group of drug, that is in injectable form, either benzathine penicillin or procaine penicillin G injection. And for early syphilis, it has to be given for 10 days, and for late syphilis, it is given for about 20 days. Now, alternative therapy for treatment of syphilis, for primary syphilis and secondary syphilis. So for primary syphilis, we can take tablet doxycycline in the dose of 100 milligram twice a day for 15 days, or we can also use injection ceftriaxone 1 gram daily for 7 days. And for secondary syphilis, we can also use tablet doxycycline 100 milligram twice a day for 30 days, and injection ceftriaxone 1 gram intramuscularly or intravenously daily for 15 days. But we mostly prefer benzathine penicillin for the treatment of syphilis. Now coming to Sancroid, so it is also known as soft chancre, and it is usually caused by Haemophilus ducrei, and it is the most common cause of genital ulcer worldwide. And a patient with history of Sancroid will have painful ulcers in the genital region, and side by side patient also will have inguinal lymphadenopathy. There may be enlarged and painful lymph nodes in the inguinal region. We can palpate the lymph node and it is very tender to touch in this case. And due to inguinal lymphadenopathy, patient may also have a complication like patient may develop inguinal abscess. It is if it is not treated as early as possible. And coming to treatment of Sancroid, we can use injection ceftriaxone 250 milligram intramuscular single dose, or we can give tablet azithromycin 1 gram single dose, or we can give tablet erythromycin 500 milligram once a day for total days for total 7 days. And alternative regimen including tablet ciprofloxacin 500 milligram BD for 3 days, or tablet doxycycline 100 milligram BD for 7 days. So you need not to remember alternative regimen. You may be confused. You can just go through the standard regimen for all the STDs treatment. Okay, like for syphilis, you just remember about the penicillin, and for Sancroid, you go through the azithromycin or erythromycin. Alternative regimen you need not to remember. Okay, you will be confused. Now coming to Trichomonas vaginitis, so it is a protozoal infection. It is caused by flagellated protozoan parasite known as Trichomonas vaginalis, and it is usually transmitted by direct skin to skin contact with an infected individual. And clinical feature including vaginitis in women, and the female will usually complain of frothy and greenish vaginal discharge. And in case of male, there may be history of urethritis or there may be prostatitis in case of male patient. There may be urethral infection or there may be infection of the prostate. And for treatment of Trichomonas vaginitis, we can give tablet metronidazole, and higher dose of metronidazole has to be given in this case. So if we are using single dose, we have to give 2 gram single dose for the treatment, or we can give usual dose, that is 400 milligram 3 times a day for 7 days. I think it's better to give metronidazole in 2 gram dose because it is single dose, so patient may not need not to have repeated dose of metronidazole. Or in place of metronidazole, you can use tinidazole. It is also given in higher dose if it is taken as a single dose, that is 2 gram. Or if it is taken for 7 days, then we have to give in a dose of 600 milligram once a day for 7 days. And alternative treatment regimen is cotrimazole 100 milligram intravaginally every night for 6 to 12 days. So we also get cotrimazole tablet that can be inserted into the vagina during the night time. You place it inside the vagina in the night time, and then you have to go to the sleep. Why not we use it in the daytime? Because when we use this tablet intravaginally in the daytime, because of movement, the tablet may be pushed out of the vagina. So while during the night while you go to the sleep, after micturating, you go to the bed and you put the tablet intravaginally and then go to sleep, and it can be used for 6 to 12 days for the treatment of Trichomonas vaginitis. Now coming to genital herpes. So it is the infection of genital region which is caused by herpes simplex virus, that is HSV virus, and patient presents with small blisters in the genital region, and that breaks up to form a painful ulcer. So in genital herpes, first the patient will notice small multiple blister in the genital region, and eventually it will break up and then it will form into the ulcer. And the clinical feature including vaginal and penile discharge may be present. Also after the rupture of the blister there may be discharge, and there may be history of dysuria and cervicitis in case of female. So patient will complain of difficulty in micturating or painful micturation, and patient may have history of cervicitis. There may be infection of the cervix, and it may have associated symptoms like patient may complaints of fever, body ache, as well as swollen lymph node. Usually inguinal lymph nodes are infected in this case. And genital herpes is diagnosed by doing PCR test, polymerase chain reaction test, or we can also do blood test for seeing the specific antibodies in case of genital herpes. And treatment of genital herpes is done by giving antiviral drug that is known as acyclovir. So acyclovir, it is given in a dose of 400 milligram, and it has to be given 5 times a day. Or if you are using a higher dose, that is 800 milligram, then you can use 3 times a day orally for total duration of 10 days period. Okay, so tablet acyclovir 400 milligram 5 times a day, or if you are using 800 milligram tablet, then you have to use it 3 times a day for total duration of 10 days. Or in place of acyclovir, you can also use tablet valacyclovir 250 milligram 3 times a day for total 10 days period. So for suppressive treatment, you can use tablets acyclovir 400 milligram BD for 6 to 12 months, or valacyclovir 500 milligram OD oral for 6 to 12 months, or famlicyclovir 250 milligram BD oral for 6 to 12 months. But if you are asked about the treatment of uh, genital herpes, you can just write tablet acyclovir either 400 milligram 5 times a day or 800 milligram 3 times a day for 10 days. Now coming to human immunodeficiency virus, HIV virus. So I will not go in detail in this part because you will have a separate class on HIV infection and treatment. So Rasmi ma'am will take it in. I think she will take in another class. So I am just going to talk in brief. So it is caused by the infection with human immunodeficiency virus, that is HIV, and it is also known as retroviral infection. And it is spread primarily by unprotected sexual intercourse, or it may also be transmitted through the contaminated blood transfusion. Like if some patient is having HIV/AIDS and the blood is without testing, the blood is being given to another person, then the person might get HIV infection, or there may be needle stick injury, especially in the hospital. Those who are working in the hospital, like doctors or nurses, they may get HIV infection with needle stick injury through the hypodermic needles, and from mother to child during pregnancy, during delivery, or during the breastfeeding period. As a clinical feature, patient will have a long history of fever. There may be large tender lymph nodes, multiple lymph nodes which are tender to touch, and there may be throat inflammation, rashes, headache, tiredness, sores at mouth and genital region. There may be history of extreme weight loss. There may be history of diarrhea or constipation, etc. in case of HIV infections. So coming to treatment of HIV infection, it is done with antiretroviral drugs. So there are many antiretroviral drugs you will be taught about. So it should, for treatment of HIV infection, it should include at least 3 anti-HIV drug which contains uh, 2 NRTI plus 1 NRTI. So NRTI is a nucleus reverse transcriptase inhibitor and non-nucleus reverse transcriptase inhibitor. So there are various types of NRTI, And there are various types of NRTI which you will be taught, and you can see what are the drugs that comes under NRTI and what are the drugs that comes under NNRTI. So for treatment of HIV infection, you should have any of the two NRTI drugs. So there are different drugs that comes under NRTI. So out of those, you can prefer any two NRTIs, and out of different NNRTIs, you can choose any one NNRTI and you can treat the HIV infection. So it should include at least 3 HIV drugs that should contain two NRTI and one NNRTIs. And first line antiretroviral regimen are tenofovir plus lamivudine. These two drugs, they comes under NRTI. So tenofovir plus lamivudine and plus efavirenz. So efavirenz, it comes under NNRTI. So there are two NRTIs and one NNRTI, or you can use tenofovir plus emtricitabine plus efavirenz. So any of these drug can be used. So usually we usually you use this combination of drug for the treatment of HIV infections, and these are the alternative regimens. You need to remember the alternative regimen, and treatment is given for lifelong, because we have to support the patient and we have to increase the lifespan of the patient, since HIV cannot be treated as a whole. So we have to give the supportive treatment to the patient along with antiretroviral drugs, and they have to be treated for lifelong. Now, coming to hepatitis B virus, I think many of you know about it. So, hepatitis B virus is a DNA virus which can integrate into host chromosomal DNA to establish permanent infection. So, it is a DNA virus and it will enter into the chromosomal DNA and it cause permanent permanent hepatitis B infection. So, hepatitis B virus is an infection that usually attacks the liver and cause both acute liver diseases, or it may also cause chronic liver diseases. And it is most commonly spread from mother to child during childbirth, and it is also spread by needle stick injury, and it can also be spread while tattooing, and it is also spread through exposure to the infected blood, that is during the blood transfusion, and it can also be transmitted through the body fluid. So usually health workers are more prone to develop hepatitis B viral infection if they don't know that the patient might be having SBV infection. So while giving injection, they may get prick while doing blood transfusion or through the body fluid of the infected patient, health worker might get hepatitis B virus infection. And sexual transmission may also occur in person with multiple sex partners, or to those person who are in contact with sex workers as well. So clinical features of hepatitis B viral infection is there may be acute symptoms like patient may have yellowish discoloration of the skin and sclera. Patient may complain of passing dark color urine, and patient may complain of extreme fatigue and tiredness. There may be nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, and patient may also complain of decreased appetite, weakness, tiredness, etc. And chronic liver infection can later develop into liver cirrhosis, or patient may also develop liver cancer due to chronic infection of the liver caused by hepatitis B virus. So treatment of hepatitis B virus infection, since hepatitis B virus cannot be eradicated from the body, the treatment is just to aim as a suppression of the virus and its inflammatory and hepatocyte damaging response. So hepatitis B virus cannot be cured, it cannot be eradicated, but we have to suppress the progression of the disease, we have to suppress the inflammation caused by hepatitis B virus, and we have to suppress the liver damage caused by hepatitis B viral infection. So acute hepatitis B does not usually require treatment, and most of the patient clears the infection spontaneously in case of acute infection. And patients are cared for maintaining comfort and adequate nutritional diet, fluid replacement, etc. has to be given. So because in acute infection, patient may have vomiting, diarrhea, so we have to have proper nutrition to the patient. We have to give fluid replacement because patient due to diarrhea and vomiting, patient may have dehydration, so we have to have proper nutritional balance in case of acute hepatitis B viral infection, whereas chronic hepatitis B is treated with antiviral drugs, and treatment can slow the progression of cirrhosis, reduce the incidence of liver cancer, and improve the long term survival of the patient. So WHO has recommended drug that is tenofovir or entecavir as a most potent drug to suppress the hepatitis B virus infection. So coming to tenofovir, which is known as tenofovir disoproxil fumarate (TDF). So TDF, it is a monophosphate nucleotide which is related to adenosine monophosphate, which is active against both hepatitis B virus infection as well as tenofovir is also effective against HIV infection. So this tenofovir, it is a prodrug. So it is used as a prodrug, that is disoproxil, due to its poor oral absorption, and it improves the bioavailability and intracellular passage of active form. So tenofovir, it is a prodrug. So it is released from hydrolysis of a prodrug, and it is dephosphorylated by cellular kinase into active form, that is tenofovir diphosphate, and which inhibits hepatitis B virus DNA polymerase as well as HIV reverse transcriptase enzyme, and they get incorporated into the viral DNA and they cause the viral chain termination. Coming to pharmacokinetics of tenofovir, it is incompletely but adequately absorbed after oral intake. They are excreted through the kidney and having plasma half-life of 16 hours, and they may cause nausea, flatulence, abdominal discomfort, loose motion as well as headache. And if tenofovir is used for long term, they may cause nephrotoxicity, and they are given in the dose of 300 milligrams daily for lifelong for treatment of hepatitis B virus infection. Another drug is entecavir. It is an antiviral drug which is also used for treatment of chronic hepatitis B viral infection, and it is a nucleoside analog, and it acts by inhibiting hepatitis B DNA polymerase after activation by intracellular phosphorylation. Coming to pharmacokinetics, they are given orally because they are completely absorbed after oral administration. Food decreases its bioavailability, so it has to be taken in empty stomach. It is not metabolized, so it is excreted unchanged by the kidney and having plasma half-life of 128 to 148 hours. So it may cause mild dyspepsia. Patient may complain of nausea, diarrhea, fatigue, disturbed sleep, or lactic acidosis, and dose is 0.5 milligram once a day. So other antiviral drugs which are used for the treatment are adifovir, dipivoxil. So these it is a monophosphate analog of AMP, and it is used for hepatitis hepatitis B viral infection, and it acts by blocking the reverse transcriptase, which is crucial for hepatitis B virus to reproduce in the body. So mechanism of action is they act by blocking the reverse transcriptase enzyme, and it is excreted through the kidney and has plasma half-life of 7 hours, and it may cause sore throat, headache, weakness, abdominal pain, and flu-like symptoms, as well as if it is used for long term or if it is used in higher dose, it may also cause nephrotoxicity, and dose is 10 milligram orally. Another antiviral drug is telbuvudine. It is a newer drug, so it's a newer antiviral hepatitis B virus drug belonging to thymidine nucleoside analog, and it is also given orally, and it is not affected by food, so it can be given at any time, and it is not metabolized and it is excreted on cells by the kidney, and it has a plasma half-life of 15 hours. And mechanism of action is it enters inside the cells and it is phosphorylated by cellular kinase to generate the active triphosphate nucleotide, and which competitively inhibit hepatitis B virus DNA polymerase, and it is also incorporated into hepatitis B virus DNA, resulting into the termination of the chain. And it may cause abdominal pain, diarrhea, cough, headache, dizziness, and myalgia. And dose is 600 milligram per orally OD. And another drug used for treatment of hepatitis B is lamivudine. It is also a antiretroviral drug. It is also used for treatment of HIV infection. And about mechanism of action, about adverse effect, you will be taught in HIV classes. Now coming to candidiasis, it is very common infection, and it is a fungal infection which is caused by Candida albicans, and it is also a sexually transmitted diseases. When it can affect various body parts, like it can affect the mouth, it can infect the esophageal region, it can affect the vaginal region. So when it affects the mouth, it is called as oral thrush, or it can be called as oral candidiasis. And if it includes pharynx, then it is called as oropharyngeal candidiasis. And when it affects the vagina, it is known as yeast infection, or it is known as vaginal candidiasis. So signs and symptoms varies depending upon which area is affected. And infection of vagina usually present with severe itching. Patient will complain of excessive itching, burning sensation, then maybe soreness, irritation, and whitish gray cottage cheese like discharge from the vaginal region. And if it affects the mouth, there may be whitish cottage cheese like whitish patches all over the mouth, pharynx, in the tongue, as well as it can occur in the gingival area also due to candidal infection. The symptoms of infection in male includes redness around the head of the penis. There may be penile swelling or irritation. There may be excessive itching and soreness of the penile region. There may be thick, lumpy discharge under the foreskin, and it is unpleasant in odor. And male patient may have difficulty in retracting the foreskin while passing the urine. So if male patient is having, if married male patient is having candidal infection, then you have to treat both the partners. And if only married female patient is having candidal infection, also we have to treat both the partners, since it is a sexually transmitted diseases and it can be transferred from male to female. So for treatment, we usually use tablet fluconazole in a dose of 150 milligram. It is given as a single dose for vaginal candidiasis. Okay, so in case of vaginal candidiasis, the dose of fluconazole is 150 milligram. It is given as a single dose, and male partner has also been treated simultaneously. In male also we can give same dose of fluconazole, a single tablet. And for severe vaginal candidiasis, we can use tablet cotrimazole 600 milligram intravaginally at bedtime for 6 to 12 days. Okay, so for mild infection, only single dose of fluconazole orally will be effective for patient. But if there is a severe infection, along with fluconazole, we give cotrimazole intravaginal tablet. It has to be inserted inside the vagina before the bed, uh, every night for 6 to 12 days. And tablet, or if you are using 100 milligram of fluconazole, then you can use 100 milligram orally once a day for 2 weeks for 12 days. treatment of oropharyngeal candidiasis. If patient complains of white patches inside the mouth, in the pharyngeal region, in the gingival region, in the tongue, then it has to be given for a little longer duration of time. That is, we have to treat the patient for 2 weeks with 100 milligram of fluconazole once a day for total duration of 2 weeks for the treatment of oropharyngeal candidiasis. Now coming to Chlamydia trachomatis. So Chlamydia trachomatis, it is a bacterium that causes various infections like non-specific. There may be history of urethritis. It may also cause endocervicitis, like it will infect the endometrium as well as cervix. Chlamydia trachomatis may also cause trachoma. There may be lymphogranuloma, venereum, etc. So it is a bacterium that can replicate only in the human cell, and it is the most common causes of blindness. Okay, so Chlamydia trachomatis can cause trachoma leading to blindness, and it is the most common cause of sexually transmitted diseases. And it as a clinical feature, there may be non-specific urethritis, like patient will have symptoms like painful urination. There may be discharge from the penis, as well as patient may have testicular pain leading to orchitis. And in female, there may be endocervicitis, and patient may complain of lower abdominal pain, vaginal discharge, and there may be painful sexual intercourse, and there may be history of bleeding between the period and after the sexual intercourse in case of females. And another is lymphogranuloma venereum. It is primarily an infection of lymphatics as well as infection of the lymph node, which is caused by okay, it is a infection of lymphatics and lymph nodes. And here what happens is bacteria will enter through the breakage in the skin. Due to sexually transmitted disease, there may be blister formation, and there may be breakage of the blister, and there may be breakage in the skin, and the bacteria will enter through that breakage in the skin and travel from the site of inoculation down to the lymphatic channel. So from the breakage of the skin, it will enter into the lymphatic systems, and they will multiply into the lymph nodes. And patient present with abscesses in the inguinal region leading to inguinal abscess. And there may be genital ulcer also. There may be lymphadenitis, lymphangitis, cervicitis, as well as salpingitis. So there may be various infection in the genital, in the reproductive organs. And treatment including for non-specific urethritis or for endocervicitis, we give tablet azithromycin 1 gram orally as a single dose, or we can also give tablet doxycycline 100 milligram twice a day for 7 days for the treatment of non-specific urethritis and endocervicitis. Whereas for treatment of lymphogranuloma venereum, we give tablet doxycycline 100 milligram twice a day for 3 weeks, or we can use azithromycin 1 gram once a week for 3 weeks. And for granuloma inguinal, which is also known as donovanosis. So granuloma inguinal, it is a bacterial disease which is caused by Klebsiella granulomatis, which was formerly known as Calymathobacterium granulomatis, and it is also known as donovanosis, and it is characterized by one or more painless lump, usually in the genital region or anal region, as well as in the groin. So there may be multiple lumps which are present in the genital region or anal region, or there may be multiple painless swelling in the groin area, and lumps get larger, and then it will ulcerate, and eventually bleeding will occur. So there may be multiple lumps, and they will be a progression of the lumps. It will get large, and then it will ulcerate, and there will be bleeding from the lumps. So sore has an offensive smell. After bleeding, breakage of the lumps, the discharge which comes through that lumps will be very foul smelling discharge. It is offensive smell, and treatment including tablet doxycycline 100 milligram twice a day for 3 weeks, or we can use tablet azithromycin 500 milligram once a day for 7 days. uh, but if azithromycin is given in higher dose, that is 1 gram, then it can be given 1 gram once a week for total duration of 4 weeks. So these are the overall treatment of sexually transmitted disease. So you can be asked about treatment regimen of any of these diseases. Just you have to write you need not to write the clinical features and all. You just have to write the treatment regimen along with doses and durations. Okay, so wait for a while. I'll take your attendance. Okay, thank you.